Today I welcome to the Executive Suite, originally from Connecticut, but now in North Carolina, singer, songwriter that brings that R&B, pop, indie, and even a little country vibe. Natalie Carr, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I love that introduction. Yeah.
I see you in your studio over there. You seem like you're always working, man.
I am always working. This is the room that I operate out of. It's a little dimly lit. I didn't turn the lights on. I didn't think about it.
You are all good. You are all
Yeah.
good.
This is like classic like bedroom studio. I now live alone, but prior to this I had a roommate. This was my room, my bedroom, my studio, and it's not a big room. And this is where everything was contained, but now I finally have a room where I can just do everything out of.
Talk about grinding. That's what it's about. So I see that you're very talented. Besides singing and songwriting, I see that you're also a musician. Can you tell me where your love for music really started?
Thank you so much. It's hard to say. When I was little, I always like to say my first concert ever was the Rolling Stones. My dad took me to when I was 9. He was like, I guess, he had tickets. He's big into classic rock, he was a big Beatles fan. So all of that stuff, the Allman Brothers, you name it, anything that's not current, my dad knew and loved. And so I grew up just thinking it was the coolest thing ever. And so ever since I was young, I loved classic rock. I loved rock music. I loved old school country music, Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, you name it. And then I also loved R&B music. And as I got older, I remember I really wanted to learn to play piano. And I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But I always wanted to sing and write songs. You know what I mean? I was that kid I was listening to the teacher, but I didn't really care. I just needed to know what I needed to know because I had some master plan in my mind. I was going to go home and write a song to the 3 notes that he taught me that day when I was a little kid. And then I learned guitar a bit later, and it was kind of the same story. I mean, honestly, I never got very good at guitar and piano. I just got good enough to lay chords down, a few riffs here and there just to write. But it wasn't until later on I really discovered that I loved to sing. And it's not a sob story. It's just no one in my life really ever told me I was very good at it. My parents really encouraged sports. I think in some ways they thought that was the key to success. You're really good at sports, you get into college, you get to go for free. But I wasn't very good at that. And so a lot of my love for music was hidden. It was this really private thing. It was my own therapy, and it was something I just loved.
If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I swam. Okay. Hence I'm very broad. I was a swimmer. Okay. Yeah, I swam and I played tennis. So anything that was individual, I gravitated towards. But I never was good enough to really pursue it. And I never really had a love for it, but I did love music.
Got it.
But when you're a kid, I think your parents oftentimes tell you, or people in your life tell you, music is just a pipe dream. It's like the NBA. It's something that, you're never really going to get there. And so I never took it seriously. I never thought it could be real. But when I started writing music, I was a little bit later. It was probably when I was 20 years old, 21, and I was I'm just going to go for this for real.
All right.
And I had
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first song you wrote?
I do. And I always said, I was maybe I'd play it one day. Yeah, it was kind of I'm getting at the time, Daya and the Chainsmokers. What was that song? Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. There was a song that came out, this genre of music where you just have the female vocal and then the EDM or
EDM. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And so I wrote a song. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was so nervous. I went to a local recording studio in Durham. I was terrified. It sounded terrible, but it was the first song I ever wrote for real.
Okay.
And sang and performed.
That record. I ain't gonna put it out, but you gotta send it.
Yeah, I know. I think I might have to. Oh, you might judge me forever. Yeah. I might have to send you some newer stuff too, just so you know.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Listen, so I see that you're very real when it comes to your music. Is it all personal situations, or can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, but there have been times where I do a lot of freelancing work also for songwriting and singing. So a lot of times I'll ask people what do you want me to explore? And sometimes these are situations I haven't even necessarily dealt with, but I love what makes a good song. I love even in country music, I think a lot of these subjects aren't necessarily things I can relate to, but I recognize that the lyricism is so concise. It delivers a message so poignantly and so quickly. So there's been times I've written songs that honestly have nothing to do with me.
Okay.
Most times they do. A lot of love songs. I mean, I'm 25, but gave me a lot of time to have a lot of boyfriends, a lot of situations. So I tend to pull from that, but there have been times with Sad Little Rant, particularly, there's some lines in the song that I resonate with, but don't really describe everything I went through. But my hope in writing it was that other people would identify with one or two segments of it, or like that line really hits home because it's so specific. And sometimes that's enough for me,
Okay. Who are some of the artists or, even some songs that influence you? And who are some of the people that you would like to work with in the future?
I love that question. That's a great question. I think a lot of the artists I draw inspiration from are The Weeknd, Post Malone. I felt like
See, they compare you to Post Malone a lot too.
they do, which is funny. I mean, it is awesome. I love it. Like, I think he does have this kind of like, he makes these amazing trap rock records, whatever. He sings, and then he has like this kind of like twang to him almost. But I like that they did something different. I love 𝓔𝓁𝓲. I think she's just a superstar. Rihanna, I've been in love with since I was a kid. Just people that are just badass, just doing what they want, saying what they want, saying what everyone's thinking, but no one wants to say. I really gravitate towards that. So those are some of my influences. I think recently in the pop lane, Dua Lipa. I love her music. I think she's just cool. 𝓸𝓃𝓲. She's really dope too. Miley. I do love Miley. I think she's wild, and I respect that about her. There have been a few people, and they're all in different genres too, in different lanes.
That's what I love about you and your music, just from listening.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What since we're in the music lane, what music do you listen to in your downtime? Is it I know you named a few, but do you have like a particular playlist? Like, I'm in this mood, this is what I listen to.
Hell yeah! Recently, this is so weird. I like, because of COVID, like I was going to the gym, but then we all had to stop doing that, so we all had to figure out how to work out from home. I started running outside, and I've been listening to pop punk, like early 2000s, like Fall Out Boy, that kind of thing. And I think what brought that back up for me was MGK, Machine Gun Kelly. Kind of like the Black Bear lane. I think some of that is just really raunchy and cool. I like that it's nostalgic. And so I started listening to pop punk, and now we were in the studio 2 weeks ago, and I was like, look, I want to make a rock song. And they were like, what? Yeah, and they let me have at it in the booth for, I don't know, like 20 minutes, and I came in, and they were already onto something else because it just didn't work out. But yeah, I listened to everything. Yeah, everything, every genre. I guess it's just all, mood dependent.
Playlists out there. You gotta. I think you should put a playlist out there.
And like make one.
I think
I
you
agree.
should make a playlist and put it out there, because you listen to a lot of different genres, and we can even sense that in your music and what you put out. So listen, I think your fans would love to hear or listen to what you're listening to.
I think so too. That's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your music. Your first single, "Talk About You," was that your first single? I just want to make sure I'm right.
It was the second one. It was the first one I did with my current publishing group.
Okay.
So I think in some ways I do consider it the first one on this adventure and this path. But I did have a single called "Bad Side." That was the first thing I ever put out, which is a cool record. The lyrics were cool. I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, like I've sent this to my ex-boyfriend, my ex-girlfriend, whatever." That was cool for me because people really did like my lyrics, and I was like, okay, I can do more of that. Yeah.
How did you feel when you first heard your song on the radio?
Crazy. I mean, that was life-changing.
Like, what were you doing, or were you waiting? Like, okay, coming now. Like, or what was it?
Kinda, yeah. I was at home, and I hadn't woken up too long before that, and my manager Mike texted me, and I was just shocked. I had no idea that this was happening. Probably for the better, because I would have been so eager and so anxious. That was wild. I remember JoJo, the artist. She's amazing. I remember when I was little, I don't know if it was a video that was out or what. It probably was too early for YouTube and all that. But she was saying when I first heard my song on the radio, I just started crying, and that's really, I was like tearing up. It was just crazy. It's surreal, you know, because I feel like I've been at this forever, but in the grand scheme of things, I really haven't. And these are like the little things that you hope for and pray for when you're starting out, and then when they come to you, it's sort of like this expectation, like, oh, well, this has to happen for the next thing to happen. But for me, I have to step back and just be like, this is, you know, if someone told me 2 years ago, you're going to be on the radio, you know, up in Boston, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
one of those guys that was playing that record. We can get into a second too.
Yeah, you were so supportive and amazing, and I can't thank you enough. Because
I like the record, man. I like the record. So before we get into that record, though, before we get into Sad Little Rant, do you have any future plans for us? You know, do you have anything in the works that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so we just decided that we're going to put a song out on Halloween. It has nothing to do with Halloween. It's just, it's called Blue Lights. This one's kind of cool. It's more like that retro pop feel, kind of like that Four on the Floor. Really catchy. It's a great pop record. J-Mac, my producer, thinks it has an R&B influence. I don't really hear it coming through super hard with this one, but I know that we just finished up a 6 or 7 song EP, and there's a lot of influences in it. So this song, I think it's a good radio record. It's a song that a lot of people are going to hear and be like, oh, that's really cool, that's really different. But that's coming out on Halloween. It has nothing to do with Halloween. That was just the date that we chose.
I got you.
I got you. It's like, what is anyone doing on Halloween this year? Like, you know?
You know what? I seen some drive-through dress-up type thing. I'm like you just said, I don't know what people are doing. Stay far away from that one. But listen to your single, Sad Little Rant, which I just said is one of my favorite records that I'm playing right now on the radio. You have an amazing voice. Can you tell us more about where it came from, and also give us a small snippet before we get into the record?
Absolutely. So Sad Little Rant was a record I wrote to a beat. Someone had sent, my sound engineer is affiliated with another producer, and he sent me like a beat pack, and I was just listening. I didn't intend to write a record. I was actually on the way to the studio to lay down something else for another artist, and I remember thinking, this is really cool, and I started singing. And originally I had written it, and I was like, this would be really cool for like a male artist, and I kind of went with that, not because it's gendered necessarily. It's not like, none of the lyrics are being about a man specifically. It was more of like my masculine side, I think, coming out, because we all have those different energies within us, whatever. And I wrote half of it. I was just kind of freestyling, singing it in my car, and then when I got to the studio, it was just like bars, you know, because it's not a rap necessarily, and you've heard the song, so you know. You know, sorry, left the party, I'll be back in stitch. Hey, I meant it when I said it, but it makes you stash it. You see, this new girl isn't drinking, why can I be that bitch? I'm so awkward when I'm thinking, yes, it is what it is, and I. So it's kind of like that. It has this movement, this jazzy movement to it. And I think at the time I was just going through a lot, financially, romantically. I felt like, and I think a lot of us feel this, my only escape was drinking, was going out, was, you know, the next relationship. I felt kind of lost, and I wanted to convey that here. Like, I feel like I'm below the surface of water, and I feel like this a lot, and it's such a good metaphor, just below the water, but I can't put my head up and, you know, really get out of whatever funk I'm in. And for anyone who hears it and struggles with addiction or depression, you know, it's not the saddest song in the world, but it is something that's very real. And that's what I really wanted it to convey, because I've struggled with all of those things, but I wanted it to be simple and catchy. I didn't want it to be a total downer. I didn't want to be on the keys crying my eyes out just yet. Hopefully soon, though. I don't have a problem doing that.
Well, guys, there you have it. Natalie Carr. This is her new single, Sad Little Rant, on the Exeqtive Suite.
Thank you so much.